All right. I think we're live now. We'll let some people join, give them a bit of time. Um, yeah, this is an exciting one. This is a highly requested initiative by many people. It's our first episode for our new podcast, All Chains Considered, where we bring on the builders shaping how value moves on chain. And yeah, I think we can start off with some intros. We have a very exciting guest for our first episode. Um, They likely they're very well known within the on-chain space and on-chain traders. I'll let them give a bit of an introduction. We have two very special guests joining from their team. Um, and yeah, feel free to give an introduction about yourselves and what you're building. Yeah, we can start off from there.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So I'm Jay. I'm one of the founders of Definitive. Excited to be here. So maybe a little background about the genesis of the company. I was this is like a second startup I'm working on. Prior, when I sold to Coinbase, I was working at Coinbase with a couple of my other co-founders who are not here today. And I was working on the on-chain DeFi side. This is 2020 to 2022. They were working on institutional trading infrastructure. So when you hear Michael Saylor's bought billions of dollars, they're not using the same Coinbase app you and I are using. They're using something special, very institutional focused. So our insight was that to onboard the next $1 trillion of capital on chain for the specifically the trading use case, we would need the same sort of infrastructure that is available in CeFi, and bring that to DeFi Rails. So that was kind of the genesis of Definitive, and we've been kind of going at it now for around 2.5 years. And so initially, we around a year ago we launched the first product. We call it Definitive Prime, which is a on-chain trading terminal. You can trade any asset on any chain. What makes it special is it's more geared initially towards trading size. So if you're trading 10,000, 50,000, 10 million, we have a lot of power features for larger traders to do it. And then, yeah, I'll hand over to Sushant. And you should tell the story of how, we met and Sushant joined us when he was in high school, actually. So it's a good story. And he leads our
Oh,
smart
wow.
contract engineering.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Shushant. I'm a software engineer here at Definitive. I specialize with the cross-chain solutions. We've worked very closely with the dBridge team to kind of have the backbone of cross-chain and bridging. But I kind of ended up at Definitive because I had done some previous work just getting into crypto, especially when the NFT scene was booming. I wanted to understand how to make it easier for me to buy NFTs. So I started learning about Solidity and smart contracts and stuff, and really got into the MEV scene of things. And throughout that, Jay was asking some type of MEV question, and it was something I'd researched. And so I was like, oh, this is what happens. And he was just like, oh, that was a pretty good explanation. You want a job? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So started with the smart contract side of things. We started with yield, and also with a lot of the trading stuff, kind of implemented the contracts, and then now really working on the cross-chain integration side of things, making it so you can trade any asset on any chain as easily as possible.
That's an amazing story, guys. And it's really great to see also that, Coinbase has become some sort of biggest incubator for talent. Because I keep seeing so many founders, and projects that are coming out of Coinbase. Balaji is probably the most prominent one, and most famous one. But if you check kind of track record of Coinbase and the different companies that started to ship with the roots coming from Coinbase, is just amazing to see. And yeah, big shout out to Coinbase for contributing to DeFi and Web3, because growing talent in this space is very difficult because we are solving big challenges, right? And the end goal is to beat TradFi. And DeFi is going to win, and I think in this regards we have kind of similar thesis and vision with you guys. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining us today. And yeah, maybe we can do Gal short intros as well. I'll let you to start.
So yeah. My name is Gal, leading the BDing ecosystem initiatives at dBridge. And yeah, known team members like Alex for quite a while now. Met back in even like in the pre dbridge days in 2018 back then. And yeah, like when we caught up again a few years later, really got fascinated by the approach for cross chain. And yeah, I was really surprised how this was even before like the word intense was a buzzword, was a thing. And really got fascinated. I thought this was, this is the way to do things, and it's going to become the status quo at some point. And then yeah, went all in from there. So yeah, really glad to join the team and have awesome partners like you guys on board, and yeah, have these kind of conversations where we can learn more, jam on ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, the story Gal and I met is really cool because like first time it was Singapore actually. I think January 2018. There was a Binance conference, and Binance was doing this initiative called SAFU Hackathon, and we were participating, in the hackathon, and we were actually building the MVP of the compliance solution. And just at the conference, we randomly met with Gal in Marina Bay Sands, and then like 3 or 4 years later, we occasionally meet in Barcelona, at one of the events. There was some crypto conference in Spain, and we just like randomly caught up. And then Gal joined our team, and yeah, that was like one of the biggest gaps that we've ever found. So yeah, great to have you, Gal. And to introduce myself as well, I'm Alex. I'm a co-founder at dbridge. I'm basically in charge of tech and protocol design. I'm developer myself. Luckily or unfortunately, I don't code much anymore, but we have a big team, like around 55 people, and 2/3 are engineers, right? So in dbridge, we've been always product focused and technology driven as a company, and yeah, still like majority, like a big part of our team is basically developers and engineers. And yeah, on BD team, Gal has been a long time the only guy actually leading this initiative. Now we also have Sherry, but still kind of same thesis that we are focusing like on shipping instead of kind of selling products that not exist anymore. So we are not like we never do like announcements of announcements. And yeah, what I really like, in Web3 and DeFi, right?
You're breaking up a bit.
Yeah, let's give it a second.
We lost it.
Yeah, sorry guys. Since the internet is not like super stable recently, because I'm in Dubai now, and yesterday there was like news that some internet cable was cut in the sea, and that's sometimes the internet connection flops, and it's still not fixed. So yeah, please back me up in case I'll be breaking down.
Yeah, I think the product is definitely like everything stems from the product in terms of the product sells itself. Once you have a great product, your community almost become like your marketing ambassadors, because they're genuinely they have a genuine love for the product, and that's our core focus, just building features and products that users want. And yeah, that comes from constantly listen to product feedback. And I'm sure, as you guys know, from your background, especially in TradFi and Coinbase, I'm sure that gave you guys a lot of good insights in terms of customer needs and where things are being ahead of the curve in terms of where things are going in terms of on-chain trading. So yeah, it would be great to understand how those insights helped you guys understand, okay, this is the problem we want to solve. And it would be great to get your insights there.
Yeah, and what was the inspiration, how you came up with the idea of building Definitive? What problem you're solving, or like how you bumped into this problem?
Yeah, totally. So so I'll take this one. So I guess we started narrow and have gone broad. And so what I mean by that is, when we started, the very specific problem we were trying to solve was, how do like liquid funds, whales, high net worth individuals trade on-chain assets. And the solution at the time was, if you wanted to buy or sell, like say $2 million of some alt, your only solution was you go like to the Uniswap UI and click buttons for 2 weeks, because you can't do it in one go, and you have to like, click, sign, approve, swap a small amount, make sure the market doesn't move, maybe use like a matcha or a 1inch as an aggregator. But it was just like extremely manual process. And then you had no idea how much you paid in gas, what your slippage was, if you got front run, etc. So TLDR, like on-chain trading in DeFi 1.0 was, extremely manual and very like retail focused. The innovation was, on the protocol layer with like AMMs and stuff, but not on the trade execution layer. That's kind of where we focused. And we had built OEMSs, so order execution management systems, in the past. And that gave us insight into how large traders think, the tools they want, and the features they want. So specifically, we started with like a few core principles. So one was, I think security was very top of mind for us. So the way we designed our system was like, it's a fully non-custodial system. So we designed it in a way that, if we go down, users' funds are never at risk. Next was like order execution was really important. So the BIPs mattered a lot. It's the basis points on every trade. So we built tools to optimize gas slippage, make every trade MEV resistant, etc. So that the user did not have to think about it. They just said, I want to buy asset A for asset B, and we automatically handled everything under the hood. Third is, we realize the main problem is that liquidity is extremely fragmented across chains, across dexes. So, we built kind of our own smart order router, basically, that aggregates liquidity from dexes, dex aggregators, directly from market makers. And so now we build a way for someone to like do a TWAP order where, they can say, I want to buy, I guess you guys have a token, right? What is the ticker for yours? DBR. So let's say I want to buy 1 million of DBR. So they could just say, I want to buy 1 million of DBR over 1 week, hit go, that's it, and forget about it. And so our system would handle that risk. So we really like identified this core user that we were familiar with, and we were also like trading, on chain inside, and we solved their issues. And on the back end, we provided a way. So these folks all have fund admins and stuff, and they want reporting. So they want to know, like it's crazy if you don't know how much money you spend on gas and fees and whatnot. You have no, if you do a trade in most DeFi things, you don't know. So we automated a lot of that. We added P&L. So we really built like an end-to-end solution for on-chain trading. So that's kind of where we started. And then we've expanded a lot from there into like a lot of chains. And now we've, it's very retail focused as well. And anyone can use the same infrastructure. So that's kind of we started narrow and now we've been broadening from there.
That's very cool. So you actually have the orchestration engine, right? Where user kind of just gives the intent that he wants to execute. So can we tell that this is also like intent based?
Yeah. So the difference for us, the trade-off for us is that it's permissionless and non-custodial, but the intent-based system is centralized. So the intent of your order is passed to our backend, which is a proprietary backend, and our backend figures out how to execute on your intent in the most efficient way. So a big advantage of that is like if you do a TWAP on Jupiter or CowSwap, your intent is broadcast publicly and you get front run. With us, you don't. So that's a trade-off. And what we found is that most people, most large traders who we've talked to are happy to make that trade-off. They trust us at the end of the day to do the right thing. So, it's permissionless, it's non-custodial, but the intent, the execution engine is off-chain and centralized.
Yeah, but what is the trade-off? Like there are many protocols now that use off-chain infrastructure to store signatures, right? Yeah. That's not a compromise on decentralization, especially if you have the ability in the smart contract to nullify the intent with specific nonce or like specific metadata. So I don't think that it's kind of compromise
Yeah,
on
fair.
decentralization. It's just like the protocol design that actually enable kind of gasless as well and make UX better. For
Yep.
cross-chain intent, the design is very similar. And circling back to the aggregation, because you, Jay, you've also mentioned that you have the algorithm that allows to aggregate all the on-chain liquidity to understand how to route different trades, right? For DEXs and through RFQ systems, I guess, as well. So basically, you build the API that is similar to 1inch, Paraswap, and others, or what's the difference? Because I'll tell you how we use and query this API, and actually, we can probably kind of inject your liquidity in your API as well as one of the routes that we
Yeah.
source and aggregate. on
Maybe
the other
Sushant
side.
can take this one. I think he's worked on it before. He's added different venues to it.
Yeah, so I think the great thing about Definitive when it comes to cross-chain and bridging is we really want to simplify that experience when it comes to bridging your assets or going cross-chain. And so when you place kind of that intent that you want to swap one asset to another asset, we look at all the bridge aggregators. So instead of having to go and see if you want to do this via like CCTP or dBridge, we'll just combine both of them and ask both of them for quotes and see what the best path is, right? So for example, maybe you're just trying to get a meme coin very quickly from a different chain. You prioritize speed, you prioritize execution to happen very quickly. You're going to use dBridge for that. But in comparison, let's say you're moving USDC in size, right? Like maybe you want to have it on mainnet Ethereum instead of Solana or Base or something. We're going to route you through something like CCTP that makes sure that you take 0 fees on that bridge, but make sure that it's high success, and even though it takes a little bit more time. So kind of having the intent of the user in terms of what they're trying to do is important. And from our side, being able to aggregate from every type of venue on chain lets us kind of route the best there.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. And actually, it's interesting that you brought up idea of like speed versus fees, because I think for stablecoin transfers in a cross-chain environment, it's actually kind of race to zero. And in dBridge, we'll have a new protocol built on top of our existing infrastructure that's going to be fully gasless, right? And there is a big chance that all the stablecoin transfers or stablecoin trades between chains and same chain will have 0 fee, right? Since like CCTP provides zero fee for custody, right? For the transfers, like the trade-off here that like CCTP transfers take long. But when Solver does that transfer, it's okay to wait for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, since solvers have like really big balance sheet. But at the same time, they can provide like the best execution and same speed, like instant settlement for the users as well. So I guess in 4-8 months, we'll see actually zero fees on the cross-chain trades between stables. I think that kind of space going in this direction, but of course we'll see how it will add up.
Yeah, and also going back to the question and the topic of how you guys started from being a very specific problem, I think we have very shared philosophies around abstracting the complexities for the user and almost making the infra feel like it's invisible to them. And as your product is developing and scaling, how are you guys evaluating, various, how are you guys from, idea to execution? How are you guys evaluating which advanced trading tools you should offer to your users? Yeah, basically prioritize. How do you guys prioritize what's needed in the product?
Yeah, maybe I'll kind of grab this one. So I'll answer twofolds. First was just around like the UX side. Yeah, I think just our UX mantra mentality is that it should feel like CeFi, it should feel like Robinhood. The next wave, the first wave of users were DeFi native. The next wave are not. They don't care about gas. They don't want to sign things. So that's like one core tenet. And recently we've integrated Privy and their embedded wallets and stuff. So we're doing some work there to make that better. And our app's always been gasless from day one. In terms of like the advanced tools and trading things we need to solve, I mean, honestly, at this point, it's pretty much user driven. I'm sure you probably face that too. Is like once you have a certain, sub group of users, they're constantly on Discord and stuff, and they're asking for various features, and it's kind of on us to evaluate which ones are important, which ones are not. And I think our recent launch with where we integrated you guys for cross chain is honestly very much user driven, right? Their main issue was before we had cross chain swaps, you would have to like swap into USDC, bridge, trade, etc. And they were like, listen, we really don't want to. I want to trade meme coin A to meme coin B really fast, and so that's why we integrated with Deeper. So yeah, it's very much like user driven, and then obviously we validate the feedback from users from like the metrics that we see on chain for different trends.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of more on the metrics that you guys are seeing, where do you usually see a lot of the activity, and what kind of assets and chains do you see most of the activity on?
We usually see the most activity on Base, Solana, and Mainnet. Those are probably the three. We do support a bunch of the other chains as well. Maybe one that could see more activity in the future, I think, might be Hyper EVM, which is something we're excited on. But yeah, we can add a new EVM chain, and Sushant can walk you through it, but pretty easily now. If it's non-EVM, it takes a little more time, but yeah, that's usually where we see the lion's share of activity. What about you guys?
Yeah, every day is different for us. So we can drop it in the comments. But we have this public, it's free to use analytics page, where users can pick the time frame, whether it's like the past day, the past week, the past even 3 months, even all time, and they can see where the activity is going in terms of inflows and outflows. And yeah, usually every day is different. Like yesterday, it was a lot of it was like BSC and Tron. Today, it's a lot of Hyperliquid and Mainnet and Solana. So yeah, it's interesting to get an idea of. It's a good way to visualize where liquidity is flowing on chain and where trends are shifting, basically. So yeah, that's something I check almost on a daily basis. Really, I think everyone on the team does. Yeah.
And plus, we have this feedback button, in the DBridge app, which is super easy to click on. Like we intentionally set up the task to our UX UI team to make the process of leaving feedback to be like super streamlined. I said like it should be one click from pressing the button until I start to type in the idea, because like the time is the most precious resource. And the users like don't want to fill in forms, and spend like long time explaining what's happening. So we made this form, where a user can just like press the button, like paste the screenshot and tell, look, guys, this should be improved. And lots of ideas that we implement are actually the ones that we are getting from the users who open like app.dbridge.finance, who trade on our app, who bridge, who basically power users and want to get like specific features implemented. Many users even suggest like, look, we need that chain. Like so many users who are asking for Tron, and Tron kind of became the de facto like the payment standard, right? So that's the main blockchain used for settlements and like transborder transfers, and many like on-ramp and off-ramp services are like working with the USDT on Tron exclusively. And we just like listen the users' feedback, and then it took us like half a year or so to get the Tron added, and we just released it a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, this is sort of how the prioritization of features happening on our side, basically trying to ship what users need. But here it's actually there is another interesting question, like because there are two types of users, right? There are users who interact with the app, and then there are like B2B users who leverage our infrastructure or API. And I wonder for you guys, like who are the biggest users? Are those institutions who need to get the best execution on chain, or you also have like retail users, or you have some B2B vertical as well? Would be interesting to learn more.
Yeah, and just to add to that, yeah, it would be really good to understand where you see your next wave of adoption for DeFi as a whole, but also your product.
Yeah, I'll start and maybe I'll hand over to Sushant for the next stage. But so majority of our use case right now is direct using of our platform or a mobile app. And again, it's again a mix of, let's say, like liquid funds, DAOs, VC firms, a lot of large individual traders of all sizes, actually, not just large. A lot of individual traders who use us, and these folks are typically like altcoin traders. We might not see as much flow for like a ETH or BTC for majors, but for stuff like base coins like Arrow or Solana, so Jupiter, those coins that are very on-chain native, that's really where we see the majority of flow from those sort of users. And then looking ahead, we're over to Sushant to maybe talk about where we're looking.
Yeah, so on the cross-chain side, I think next up, we're really, really trying to get these advanced orders out. I know there's like through dBridge and through Definitive, you guys can do market orders for any asset to any asset, but being able to do more advanced orders, trade in size. Let's say you have USDC on mainnet, you want to trade something on another chain, just be able to do that in a couple of clicks. That's kind of where we're aiming. And then in general, just making it kind of that whole idea that cross-chain, you can do any to any, no issues, fast, or with best execution, depending on what your needs are. So just working towards that solution and making it as easy as possible for people to interact with any to any.
And specifically, like the user type here is the trench traders who we're trying to target right now, which you might have seen like Photon or Axiom, these sort of players. And so we're kind of going at them with a multi-chain solution that one day they want to trade on Zora, Creator Coin, the next day they want to trade on Pump, and that's why we think it's cool, and that's what we're trying to build for. Just to add there, like again, these folks are not crypto native. They tend to be gamers. I would kind of describe them that way. I'm not sure if you've seen some of the videos of these people like trench trading. They're like clicking buttons really fast. There's a new coin. They're looking at the 1 second chart. They click buttons really fast. It goes up. They sell really fast. The life cycle of a trade is 1 minute. 1 minute. Like they make their money in 1 minute and they move on to the next thing. So it's a completely different user set that has now come into the space. And our product is not geared towards them, but we are like actively building tools for them.
In trenches, you got to be fast.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no the other way around. But it's interesting what you guys are building, and what Sushant has mentioned, that you really want to bring like the cross-chain trading experience to the new level, where like users don't need to think about the word bridge, right? Because as a user, I don't even need to think about chains. I just want to buy a specific asset, and I don't care whether it's like on Solana or Base or somewhere else. And I want to do that like super fast, because like again, like time is the most valuable resource that we have. And I briefly mentioned the protocol upgrade that we'll have in dBridge, and I think that that upgrade that will introduce kind of gasless trading flow, and this upgrade will also introduce like many sophisticated trading instruments, so users will be able to do TWAPs, conditional trades, stop losses, actually like the classical set of tools that users currently leverage on the centralized exchanges. But we are bringing that to DeFi and to the cross-chain space as well. And I guess we can talk about this with you guys later to see how we can kind of improve user experience for both like dBridge and Definitive users on this fronts. But yeah, I would also like to go through your app, and your website to show to our audience how it actually looks, because I see we have like 672 viewers now on our stream, and big shout out to everyone who joined us today. So this is the Definitive website, and yeah, you guys have like really great set of partners, like many big institutions and trading firms. And it's great to see. And also congrats on the launch of Edge that you had earlier this year, because it was interesting, how you managed to kind of tie in the token utility with the product features. But maybe we'll circle to this later. I just want to show, how the app and the trading experience looks like, because the interface is kind of standard, not standard, but like very similar to the interfaces that users have on the custodial venues. And it's amazing to see that finally we can trade, in a non-custodial way, at the same time leveraging like kind of favorite set of tools that we are used to have on Binance and like other exchanges. And I wonder if there are any specific features, product features, or peculiarity that you would like to highlight here.
Should I demo my account because it has
yeah,
or I don't know if that's possible.
Oh, go for it.
Because then it has a lot more features because I've done a lot more trades and stuff, so it'll be interesting to show you. So maybe I'll share.
Yeah, just don't DDoS your wallet.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna. We have privacy mode now, so you can't.
Oh, that's cool.
So can you see? Can the chat see? Yeah. So
yes.
So this is kind of my account. We have privacy mode on, which is good, so you can't actually see the amounts. But basically, some features to call out here are, you can see like all my orders that I've executed over time in one place. You can see the assets I've transferred. I don't want to click it because it'll show you the address, but this is like stuff you expect in CeFi, right? But like what's basically cool is the features that we have are TWAP. So I have Arrow. This is like the PNL. It shows you like when I bought it, when I sold it. So let's say I don't want to sell Arrow. I'm actually pretty bullish it, but let's say I want to sell Arrow for USDC. So we have market limit, TWAP, stop loss. So the cool thing is this TWAP order. Again, I can set the time. So I can say I want it to run over like 2 hours, and it'll just like execute. And it'll execute over like a bunch of segments. I can say I want it to fill over 1,000 segments. So it'll do $1 in each trade. So there's a lot of customization. The TWAP is especially extremely useful. You don't have to, worry. You don't have to track the chart. You can just fire it off, and I can forget about it. Maybe I'll show like one order. I bought this coin Avantis yesterday, which just had a TGE. So I bought, USDC for Avantis. So this was a TWAP order, which is cool. All I had to say was buy USDC for Avantis. This is the post-trade report, and it had 118 fills in 2 hours. Imagine manually clicking 118 times. You don't have to do that. Like this just filled it. It filled it across like all these different, venues. So Aerodrome has a few different pools, but it's like has smart order routing. It tells you the transaction hash, how much it filled for, the price it filled at, etc. So it's like imagine again, you could never just do something like this manually. And these are like the tools that the best traders in the world are using. This is how they get into positions. This is how they get out. They're not just buying tops. They're taking their time. So this is something like people really like using in our app. And the other thing they really like you were mentioning, when you're buying or selling a token, the stop loss take profits are you need it, right? Most people who trade perps or in CeFi have set those. They're not there in DeFi. So those are just some of the other features that we have available in our app. We also have the sub accounts. Again, like in Binance, you have sub accounts. I have 5 different sub accounts. Each sub account has different wallets, so you can't actually track the money to me. The trades come from very different wallets. So a lot of like features for traders, all from feedback that we've received from orders to reporting to like how to display the data. This is a new feature we've launched recently. It's called like quick trade. And so you can just like click buttons and trade. So Zora, like if I want to, this is a little too small, but let me change this to like 100 here or whatever. Yeah. I can just buy, boom, it'll just send a buy order. I just click button. So these are features people want, and it's filled in under a second. So you can like see it, this order filled. I bought Zora. So these are features. And now if I want to sell that Zora, I just hit this button, boom, sell, done, less than 1 second. Like these are like all these power features where I was talking about speed that people really want and care for. A lot of customizability. We have a lot of settings like slippage, priority fees, failed orders. These are more for really pro people, but I think the normal standard user, I think they like the TWAP, stop loss, take profit, and limit the most. Like they come in, those are things that they're familiar with in CeFi, and they apply to DeFi and they use it. So yeah, a lot of stuff that we built on, and we can go into security and stuff. This is a pretty high level overview.
No, this looks amazing, guys. You did an amazing job. Huge congrats, because the product that I see looks slick, and you basically brought institutional grade tooling to trenches. And I think that many small traders and those who just getting started trading in DeFi and kind of doing meme coin thing, coming out from Pump Fun and other platform, like those users really appreciate to
for
have
sure.
tooling that is in TradFi not available, and people are paying like a ton of money for like professional trading terminals to be able to trade and to be able to access the data. Like Bloomberg terminal is like a good example, right? And in DeFi, just like available like from day one through the apps like Definitive. And thank you guys from entire, on behalf of entire DeFi world for shipping this kind of
No, and
tools
thank you for
for
what you
users.
guys have done. It's extremely critical infrastructure that we use and our clients use. So yeah, really. Yeah, I didn't even show you. We have the cross-chain orders as well. Actually, let me just do that too, since I'm on privacy mode, so I can't execute it, but we do use you under the hood for cross-chain orders, from Solana and a bunch of other chains. But yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, Definitive is one of our, valuable partners who's leveraging dBridge API to provide like smooth trading experience, cross-chain trading experience for the users. And yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you guys. And hope your users are enjoying the execution time, and the security that dBridge infrastructure provides.
Yeah, the UX is it's almost indistinguishable from a centralized exchange, which is how things should be, which is great. And I wanted to shift the topic a bit more about the token, the recent Edge token, and it would be interesting to understand actually from your perspective whether that's shift user behavior in any way or affected volumes, and it would be good to understand how that token is being utilized within the platform.
Yeah, so maybe Sushant, do you want to just talk through like current utility of the token, and then I'll kind of go over the general vision for the token.
Yeah, so with the tokens, we launched a couple months back, and we got pretty good feedback there. I think ahead of the launch, obviously we had a points program, so there was a lot of interest there, a lot of people trading. Little bit of drop off kind of after, with people claiming the airdrops and leaving. But over time, I think the main thing that we've implemented so far is by staking Edge, you can actually get a discounted trading fee. So if you're a large institution, you're very fee sensitive. Just by staking Edge, you're able to reduce the amount of fees you pay within Definitive. So it's pretty valuable just with that. And then, as you go on, as you do more volume, the Edge that you bought, that you staked, actually ends up making you money because you save that amount in fees. So that's kind of the main way people are using Edge within staking. And then, I'll hand it off to Jay in terms of future use cases.
Yeah, and kind of looking ahead, we've kind of studied some of the larger protocols like Athena and Hyperliquid and those sort of folks, and we really want to try the token utility to growth of our platform. And you basically reward our users and traders for the token in a non-deflationary manner. I think it's more a question of when we'll do this, when's the right time to like say turn on like a fee switch or something of that nature. So we are jamming on like revamped future tokenomics across referrals, across just using our product, across rewarding with the largest traders and our advocates and stakers. But we've not finalized this, so we'll be publicly announcing Edge tokenomics V2 in the next 2 weeks. So keep out for that. But go ahead.
Yeah. It seems like it adds really good functions to the PAL users, especially, which that's really awesome to see.
Yeah, I think that as you all have been in DeFi long enough, I do think that the meta has changed around tokens, and people don't want a governance token. They want real utility, and that can be through fees or through some sort of like dividends or buybacks. And I think that's important. I think so. We acknowledge that it's important. It's just that we don't want to do. We're still a startup. At the end of the day, we're not a super mature company, so we want to do it at the right time where the utility can help drive growth to the company while also rewarding token holders.
Yeah, makes sense. I also wanted to step back a bit as I see we're getting close to time. More in the industry as a whole, and putting Definitive aside, what would you say these days is on your mind in terms of recent news, developments, maybe something interesting? I know there's a lot. Every day is a new day in crypto, but it would be good to see first.
Yeah, I mean, I think both our answers might be very different. So on my side, I'm just excited by things like I use this cycle, and the things I use. Obviously, I use dBridge through our integration Definitive, and my profile is like, I would say it's like very DeFi tradery profile. So I love Hyperliquid. I'm Perps Trader. Other products I like are Athena, Pendle, Syrup. So like really, I think like products that are solving a real problem, providing utility, and are actual companies is kind of what I'm personally more excited by this cycle. And then in general, I think we're pretty, as a company, aligned in the base ecosystem, by working there, and we know the core team and Jesse and stuff well. And so we are just generally also just excited by that ecosystem, and they're doing some very interesting things with just onboarding 80 million, 100 million people on chain. And they're really committed to that mission, and we're working closely with them. So those are kind of the general, like high level areas I'm interested in. Yeah, maybe Sashan, you should chat through what you're looking in.
Yeah, so I had a very different experience in DeFi. So I got into DeFi pretty young. So I learned a lot of how finance works through DeFi Rails. And I think it gave me an interesting perspective where understanding like the transparency and open nature of developing things within DeFi is just so much better than how it is in traditional finance, where things are very opaque or you don't really understand how it's working. So like how Definitive is kind of having that centralized exchange level experience with all the things trading on DeFi. And it's kind of the reason I joined Definitive as a whole. And seeing that kind of without the industry or throughout the industry is really inspiring as well. Something I'm really bullish on is prediction markets. I think products like Kalshi and Polymarket are really unique, and especially in the case of Polymarket, the fact that it's on chain adds another layer of authenticity. I think it's really cool to be able to see kind of the unspoken things about the world, being able to see like a quantitative like prediction about it and like see exactly what the likelihood of it happening is. So I think a good example is like the Fed rate cuts. It's like before you just hear someone say, oh, like looking at this data and looking at this data, I think it's going to be like here, the 80% chance of this happening. But by going to Polymarket, I can see what the actual odds are, right? Because people can just kind of trade based off what they know and their expertise, whether they're bringing in data or whether they're going off a vibe-driven approach. So for small things and big things, I think it's really cool to kind of look at prediction markets. I use it very often now. I think Hyperliquid when it comes to trading and having these really low latency but really good execution tools is really cool as well. I think perps are a very unique thing within DeFi, and the fact that Hyperliquid's able to do it in a decentralized way is also really cool. So those are kind of some of the things I'm really excited about within this space.
And stablecoins is probably another hottest narrative now on top of prediction markets. And it's amazing to see how Hyperliquid, has launched this competition when like different stablecoin issuers start to applying for UDH ticker. And I haven't seen anything like this before, and it really helps now to also educate like many DeFi users and bigger projects, to understand how the stablecoin landscape works in general. So yeah, it will be interesting to keep an eye on how these things will evolve. Stablecoins plus prediction markets.
Yeah, I totally resonate with you that it's like from you really see TradFi from a different lens when you're from the crypto native perspective. It's a really, and it's really interesting. It's really good to see that the shift is starting to happen. And yeah, on some wrap up questions, I'll ask like 2 in 1. I guess what would you say is some alpha you want to share before we wrap up? And what's your one bold prediction for DeFi in the next 12 months?
Yeah, so maybe on the alpha front from Definitive, what I'll share is that the version 1 of Definitive, was for large traders executing big orders. The version 2 of Definitive that's coming out soon is for anyone, from a meme coin trader to an institution, trading anything from a 50K pre-bonded pump token to a multi-billion-dollar asset. And we're going to be the place to trade on chain. Doesn't matter if you're a high schooler or a fund manager, we'll be the platform for you. So that's kind of how we're positioning Definitive and what we've been working towards. So we have a new product launch coming in October that will make all this clear. So that's the alpha, as always, is on chain though. So yeah, and then for the predictions, I think it's more exciting to get the young guys like Sushant. Hear what you think is the future.
Yeah, and for us as app builders and infrastructure builders, the goal is to give a tooling to guys who are still studying in school to be able to outperform fund managers. And I think it's already happening, and that's why kind of trenches now are so popular. But yeah, Shushan, what's your
Yeah, kind of going back to where I was excited. I think the transparency and a lot of the open nature of crypto kind of empowers a lot of these cooler things. So I mentioned how I'm very bullish about poly market and prediction markets as a whole. And stablecoins is another thing where anyone across the world is able to get access to USD, which is not very difficult when it comes to, especially if you're outside the US. Foreign exchanges being available on chain is very cool. USDC, now there's like a digitized euro and other currencies as well. Being able to swap that even faster and even cheaper is very exciting. So I think my bold predictions, crypto is going to go into the mainstream in a lot of different directions with prediction markets, with stablecoin transfers, with kind of the digital gold of Bitcoin. So I think everything is going to be on chain. And as we say, the alpha is on chain, and all of this stuff can be empowered, especially on the trading side with Definitive.
Yeah, you heard it, guys. The alpha is always on chain. Yeah, this is like the perfect way to wrap it up, guys. And really appreciate that you hopped on, dropped the alpha, and really shared some interesting insights. So really appreciate the time, and let's take things from there, onwards and upwards.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys.